Live. I'm Brent Leary.
I'm, at least for the moment, Paul Greenberg.
And for the moment, that makes us the CRM players, although we're pretty much CRM players for more than a moment.
I hope so, or that makes us very short-lived.
Yes, we are the CRM players. It's Thursday, July 27th. This is the last Thursday in the month of July.
Scorching hot and humid here. Excessive heat advisory, over 100. Just horrible.
Yeah, it's 96 degrees without all the, it's 96 degrees. The humidity takes it to another level, of course. But hey, we're
Yes.
here, and Sahil is here. Look, Sahil is
Sahil.
kind of he kind of got in a little before the usual, which is okay. Hey, here's another. Hello,
Alan. Hey, man. Hi, Brian. He doesn't know you, though.
Yeah. What the? I mean,
Alan, Brent, for God's sake. Come on, say hello to Brent, too. Brian will be here soon.
Well, he knows. I know. It's like he just left us all. I mean, I don't know Alan, so I can't be too mad at him.
Well, you kind of know of him. He's that genius I told you about, the internet advocate.
I don't know if you can't be a genius and just leave me out. I'm just saying it's kind of rough, but you know what we're here for. Oh, look, okay, now we're
there.
Here.
We go.
Is Rebecca saying wolf, or is Patrick telling Rebecca?
I think Patrick's transmitting the message. There we go. We knew it was Solis.
By the way, hi, Brent.
Yeah.
But I'm concerned. I have to tell you, something is not right in Denmark or wherever Sven is.
Well, it depends on what language comes in.
Wow, he was actually waiting for the show today when I got the notification. I mean, we could take this as a good thing, but I don't know.
I see where you're coming from. I wouldn't really have watched it if Brian wasn't there.
The notifications usually come out about this time, Sahil. I'm just saying, but we're glad that you're here. We're excited that you're here. We're just kind of worried about Sven. What the heck is going on?
I don't know. We may not, if we don't have a moment of Sven, what do we have?
I think the show ends.
I know. We just have to close it out.
Well, we can't because we do have I don't know. Is he considered a guest, or is it like a homecoming?
Sort of, but not really.
Yeah. Well, we'll explain who it is in a minute. But we are the CRM players, and we have been bringing the ass since 2009.
And that we have whatever that. And again, the disclaimer is: do not sue us, Attorney General of Arizona. Right.
Hey, we didn't know we were bringing the ass until like last month. So,
Right. It's just that we found out we've been since 2009 without any knowledge whatsoever.
Well, now that we know we're bringing it, we will still continue to bring it.
Right. But not Phoenix.
You know what we're bringing next week? Is it next week?
Yes.
Well, look at that. You want to explain what the show is next week?
Yeah, look, I mean, we have spoken many times over the last several years about acquisitions that these companies have made, about startups looking for money, and how we haven't really gone into how to get it or anything like that. But we've, one way or the other, we have talked about investment in companies. And we said, what the hell, man? What do we know about that? It's not like we're rich from it. Right. So we thought, all right, let's talk to a couple of people who might actually well be rich from it, as far as we know. And we're talking to two people who are just spectacular about it. I'll save the introductions till next week. But take a look. These are the people. You're going to want to listen to this show for more reasons than we are publicly explaining.
Wow, that's a pretty good tease.
That is a great tease.
Let me give you another opportunity to tease then.
Now, you know how we've done these executive roundtables for a long, long time now, and we've been a bit remiss about them recently because we're trying to keep the station or the network work, build it out and stuff. Well, we were chatting the other day and we realized that we have had conversations recently, very recently, with 3 founding company lead CEOs, founders and CEOs, and they're all roughly $1 billion companies. So we thought, what a great idea. Let's have our executive roundtable, get all 3 of them together and have them chat about founding the companies, what it's like now, their lives, how they differ, how they're the same, I mean, just who they are, how this works. It's going to be super friggin' cool because $1 billion is nothing to sneeze at. Those are big companies. And all 3 of them are very different people. And all 3 of them are wonderful people, especially when you hear them speak, they're just amazing. So this is in September. Date will be announced shortly. Be prepared. The next CRM Playaz Executive Roundtable. This beauty.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. We've had conversations with them individually. They're always great. We were like, wouldn't it be just cool to bring them together? I mean, they've been there, they've done that, they're still doing that. And it's really cool that they all said yes to doing this. So,
yes, all 3.
Look who is commenting.
Kenny. So Kenny, for those of you who don't know him, not only is he a wonderful, extraordinary human being, a brother from another mother, he's also my co-host on Engage with Paul and Kenny. We just relaunched the show this week. You'll be seeing clips from the show. We'll put in links to the show where we did an extraordinary interview with the Honorable Martin Jenkins, who is a California Supreme Court justice, and as part of the relaunch. If you've seen the older shows, I think you'll like the newer one considerably better. Not that you didn't like the old one. I thought it was great. And the other thing with Kenny is he just knows his stuff. He just knows, aside from a million people he just knows a lot. So it is really, really worthwhile. And you will see what we were drinking that evening.
Wow. Nice. That was actually part of a really good week on the network here.
Yeah, why don't you talk about it a little bit?
Well, first of all, I just like the fact that I could put this up as a promo because quite honestly, I feel that this may be my best promo work ever because for the most, look at these pictures. They got there's some panache, some style to each one of these pictures. They're different.
But you do know that John's picture still looks like he will murder all of us.
That's okay. Isn't that the definition of what the brohammer is?
Brohammer. Well, not murder, no. This one takes it to another level.
He's a bad boy. I called him originally. He was called the bad boy ERP, but he's graduated to the brohammer. And I had a chance to speak with our mutual buddy Ron Miller, who's an enterprise tech reporter for TechCrunch. It's always fun talking to him, but we were talking about all the AI stuff. And of course, John, the brohammer, was on with the irascible one, Esteban Kolsky, on the second ever edition of Whispered Insights. And matter of fact, I think let's do this. Let's have a little taste of Whispered Insights. So you guys can really see what you're missing because you shouldn't really miss it. But this is the brohammer on Whispered Insights.
A board level meeting, those are almost always a half an hour. And a good chunk of that meeting is usually listening to the board member. Usually I will have 5 or 10 minutes at the end to say my piece. My job is to distill everything I've seen and give them 1, 2, or 3 key points about the market that I think are most impactful to them. That's what they want. Very highly curated. A machine at this point in time could never provide them with that, but it could feed into the content that I would consume and organize to make that for sure. I will also have the audacity to tell them what I think they should do with that information.
The brohammer.
And the audacity works perfectly with brohammer.
So is it the audacious brohammer now? I mean, is that?
That's not the worst. Not the worst way to put it, to tell you the truth.
I'm glad he put it. So basically, what he was saying is AI isn't able to do what he does right now, and I'm glad to hear it.
He's
Now,
absolutely right too.
now the little clip from the other guest, Ron Miller, from A Few Good Minutes. We had a really good conversation. We were talking about where is the enterprise, where is enterprise tech really when it comes to this AI stuff. I put a clip up of him talking about it a little bit, but I have to play this clip, and it has nothing to do with the one I put up. This is how this is why you know you can trust somebody like Ron Miller. Let me play this clip, and you'll see why I'm saying that.
Set this with the fact that I am not by any means an AI expert. I've talked to a bunch of people who know this stuff. I am not, somebody who understands, the computer science of it. And I want to make that clear. But I have talked about it a lot with a lot of smart people, and I've written about it. But that doesn't make me an expert.
That just struck me for so many reasons. But the main thing is you have all these people out here running around who just learned how to spell AI like last week, and they are already proclaiming themselves to be experts. You need to take their course. You need to, buy their book or whatever.
Yeah.
And here is a guy who every company in the enterprise space just wants to get in front of and spill their guts to and tell them everything that they're doing. And AI is the thing that is driving everything right now. So he's got all these, he's got the big companies, he's got the startups, all of them sharing everything they're doing in this area. And so he has probably the broadest knowledge of what's going on with AI and Gen AI in the enterprise space. And what does he say? The first thing, hey, look, I am not an expert. I talk to a lot of folks. I write about this stuff. I am not an expert. Most people in his position would be proclaiming from the high mountaintops that I am the voice that you should listen to. And here he is, good old Ron, just saying, look, I talk to these folks. I know what's going on, but I'm not an expert. How many people would be like that given what he has access to?
Him. That's it.
That's why you gotta love a guy like that, even though he's a big Boston sports fan. You know,
he actually gets a pass. He's so great.
Yeah, that it's stuff like that that allows us to give him
a pass. I mean, believe me, it is not an easy thing to achieve. So he has one. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sahil. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. We come and check out the clips, but also check out the shows.
And one more. So next week, August 2nd, at Tuesday at noon, is the relaunch of Talking Headless, which, as those of you who might have listened to it, I'm not assuming you did, knew it was about an hour audio podcast. It is, Alan's among them. It is now a live stream. It is 30 minutes, and it's basically consists of, I will, as a hardcore industry analyst here, I will take a company and dissect it, right? And then there will be a small segment at the end entitled Something I Really Like and Something I Really Dislike, right after that segment. So first topic will be a different kind of look at Zoho, will be the very first topic, and that will take up the first 20, 25 minutes. And then the last 5 will be, I'm not telling you what they are now, something I really like and something I really dislike.
Ooh.
And that will be the show going forward.
We already know. All right, so
Tuesday.
The Yankees are the thing you really like.
Oh, guess who's here?
Yeah, I see it. And blueberry bagels are the things you really don't like.
No, I'm not talking about either of them. Although they might come up someday.
Oh, and here's the tease for next week. Next week, 1, maybe 2 folks from CRM Magazine are going to be joining us to announce something. Can't say anything more than that. Got to check that out.
Oh, yeah, and I have one more thing. For those of you who have obviously very kindly responded to the sunsetting of the watch list. Just please understand, judging from these comments, I'm not retiring for good. I'm not disappearing. It's I mean, a lot of you are saying thank you for your service to the industry over all these years, but you're not meaning the watch list. You're literally talking about me, right? Thank you.
I'm
Thank
sorry.
you, Alan.
Me and Alan are just not gonna ever get along.
No, Alan and I get along
First he
great.
ignores me, and then he like starts talking about how great the experts, the Boston sports are, and now the blueberry bagel slander.
Bagel band, the Blueberry
the
Bagel
heck?
Band. Thank you, Alan. And
But on
thank
the
you,
other
Alan.
hand, we like Sandy. We like Sandy.
Yes, we do. And again, next week, relaunch noon, and Tuesday, August 1st. It'll be once a month. The next week one is entitled A New Take, a New Look at Zoho.
Oh, of course he's gonna watch that one.
Yeah.
I mean, come
Given
on.
She's head of corporate communication. Okay, Alan. All right. So I'm done.
Oh, by the way, Brent says I never. Yeah, well, we know that Brian is why you're here, along with Alan and we know we're okay.
We get it. We
We
take
like
no
the guy
offense.
too. We really, if we didn't like him, he wouldn't be on the show.
Right, we love this guy actually.
But before we can bring him on,
I know. God damn! I was hoping you'd not do this.
we have a little something that we need to do.
Oh, God.
Are you done with the? Are you done with the grumbling? All right.
I'm never done with the grumbling.
A board level meeting.
Oh, we don't care about that.
Yay, that's it. Yes, that was it. We're done.
And now it's time for Stump the Godfather with the venerable Paul Greenberg. Brought to you by Microsoft Dynamics 365 Copilot.
You know, you should like that just because it gives us a chance to hear a little Benny Hill.
I love the Benny Hill part of it. That's the end of it. That's what I love. The end.
Once again, you know, and it Anand kind of sounded dangerously close to saying stump. If you really listen carefully, it kind of sounded a bit.
You know what? I have no doubt.
But it is Stump the Godfather, brought to you by Microsoft Dynamics 365 Copilot. Matter of fact, Copilot is going to play a big part in this particular question.
The answer is God is my co-pilot, starring Jimmy Stewart.
Well, not quite that. Let's see.
Oh,
I want to
okay.
make sure I'm not going to give this away. Okay, I think we're good. Well,
Nothing is free in this world.
I want to make sure because I don't want to give you the answer. All right, here we go.
Oh,
so
God,
yesterday,
man.
Microsoft came out with their earnings. As a matter of fact, a lot of these big tech companies came out with their earnings the last couple of days. Everybody's just smashing. So I was checking out the Microsoft earnings call transcript, and something stood out to me. Maybe it's because we are sponsored by Copilot, but I noticed that term was being said quite a lot on the call, particularly by the CEO. So this week's Stump the Godfather question is, how many times did Satya Nadella say Copilot during Microsoft's fourth quarter 2023 earnings call? Anybody who wants to take a guess in the comments section. But now, the venerable Godfather, Paul Greenberg, what is your guess? How many times did the CEO of Microsoft mention Copilot?
31.
31. That was quick. That was quick.
Well,
Look,
it doesn't. I mean, I could literally sit here and think about it, and it would make no difference whatsoever.
First of all, let me say we're so glad we were able to call the police off. Sven is here, and we're glad to see Sven. And Sven says 30. And what is this? People watching The Price is Right or something? And Sahil goes with 29.
Yeah.
So you did 31. They did. Sven did 30. Sahil did 29.
So Sven, you can't win unless you're exactly right.
Wait, Patrick is going to put in a bid. Come on. I think Rebecca, I think Patrick is trying to get a bid in.
You can
But-
see he's moving his paws like this with the number. giving the number.
Yeah, venerable. That's right.
Yeah, he means
Venerable.
old, Alan. He just means old. It's just his nice way of putting it.
$1.
$1. Price is right.
Okay.
Price
That's a
is
good
right.
one.
That's it. $1.
Okay, so you are the high at 31. We have Sven at 30,
$1.
Phil at 29, and Patrick and Rebecca at $1. Sven is saying, I am part of PPN. This is my
Oh,
wow. Okay.
yeah, except for one problem, Sven. So am I.
Yeah. All right. So all answers are locked in. The Godfather said 31. The answer is
22. Sahil is the closest.
Sahil, yeah, but you're all over.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean, you know, mentioning it 22 times on a conference call for financial analysts is actually kind of a lot.
financial analysts didn't hear the word once, I don't think. So
No, actually,
all they heard was earnings. They didn't hear co-pilot.
but so actually, you want to take a guess at how many times the word co-pilot was said generally by everybody on the call?
Does that include people asking questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
And remember, these are like financial analysts. They're
No, I
usually
understand.
talking about dollars and revenue.
Yeah, but
and-
that's a product name, so they might. I can see it.
Patrick.
That's right. Patrick's the winner. Well, no, Sahil is actually closest.
Yeah, but
He
everybody went over. I don't know.
Yeah.
If we're going by
Patrick gets $1.
if we're going by the Bob Barker rules of order, I don't think we have a winner.
No. Okay, so I would say in total,
Yeah.
if he's 22.
Yeah, you got to include the 22 in there.
Yeah, I am. I'll say 30. No, how many other people spoke on the call though? I don't know.
Oh,
I didn't listen. So
you
I don't
know,
know.
it's they have a few financial analysts on to ask questions.
But it was not. Was Satya the only one presenting? That's not
There-
usually
there's
the case.
well, the Microsoft CFO was on the call.
Right, I figured that.
I think her name is
All
Amy Wood or something like that.
Yeah. All right, so let's say 36. 14 more.
Oh, Sahil got. I'm not trusting Sahil. I think Sahil went and got the transcript and did the search like I did because he's right on it. 40. Sahil, I'm calling you out, buddy. I'm calling you out.
Too exact. Either that or Sahil's reached a genius.
Yeah,
No,
you're a little low. You were just a little low. Wait a minute. Sandy was just a little low.
Oh,
How
play
about
Benny Hill
that?
again. Play Benny Hill again.
All right. So that was not the main question. That was like, what do they call that? A sidecar or something? I don't know. The original question was how many times did Satya say it?
And
22 was the answer. Everybody was a little high, not that terribly high.
Sahil was closest.
It's the closest, but I mean, he said 29, Spin said
How
30,
about
you said
this?
31.
We give him an honorable mention.
All right,
Sahil.
we'll mention it. Consider this an honorable mention.
Sahil, you win an honorable mention, not first place.
He says it was a wild guess on that 47. That's a pretty wild guess. Pretty wild.
precise, wild guess. Yeah.
Pretty wild. All right. Well, anyway, that was another fun filled. That was pretty good.
Fun-filled. Oh, yeah, these are real fun for me.
And we incorporated co-pilot right into the question. So
Wow.
that's
Remember,
it.
sponsor, remember you heard this here. Co-pilot was the question.
Yeah.
And we talked about your earnings call. Of course, not your earnings, but we talked about your earnings call.
Although their
Yay.
earnings were like over 50 some odd billion in revenue and a 20 some odd billion in earnings. So pretty big. Pretty big. Anyway, thank you to Microsoft 365 Dynamics Copilot for sponsoring Stomp the Godfather once again. And now I see him in the green room. There he is. He turned
He
his
did say-
camera on.
He said he was going to have camera on, off, and voice on, off things that will happen potentially through this. So,
Oh,
just
okay.
so you know.
Well, while he's getting all that straight, I turn things over to the venerable Godfather, Paul Greenberg, for the introduction of today's
Oh,
guest.
for God's sake, what can I say about Brian? Look, here's the deal. Brian's one of these kind of once in a lifetime minds, the kind of person who is seminal in his thinking. He's also big hearted in his engagement with human beings. He's got true empathy in the kind of person he is. He's a genuine leader. He's an innovator par excellence. In fact, as of right now, his job is to run innovation for ServiceNow, which, for those of you who don't know the company, they, to me, are the world's largest unicorn. For example, their earnings right now for the quarter were, I think, 2.03 billion, meaning they have a run rate of about 8 billion for the year. I mean, he is an extraordinary human being. And here's the thing: when Brian is dealing with an audience and you listen to him articulate, and that's the word for it. It's not just speak, it's articulate. He's engaged with that audience. He's talking with them, not at them. He's not a loudmouth who just yells on a stage. He has ideas, he presents them, he engages with the audience gets it, and Brian can walk away happy that he made a difference in somebody's thinking on a given day. And again, brother from another mother. This man is a wonderful human being, somebody that I just adore as a person besides. And of course, as Brent and I often have pointed out, with all the other achievements like transforming the PR industry and everything else he's done, his biggest and most important job to date was the founding Playa-in-Residency. He is literally the reason the program exists. So let's bring on Brian Solis, the man, the myth, the legend, but he's not really a myth either. And of course, there's a bar in the background. Right.
Oh, Paul, you gave me goosebumps, and I'm sure everybody's wondering why I'm smiling so big around here. But yes, greetings from Reno Airport.
I thought it said pilot, but it said Pinot on the slate behind you.
Would you want me to get you a glass, Paul?
Yeah, no, actually, I need some harder stuff than that. Right.
Wow.
So, Brian, hi. First time we've gotten a chance to get you on here with since you've been at ServiceNow.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. I was trying to think about the last time, but it is really good to see you guys. And look at this production quality that's you guys are introducing.
Well, look at that camera Brent's using, the Panasonic Lumix 5 S5X2. Amazing. The best camera we've ever dealt with, ever. So
I love the de-aging filter as well. I mean, this is really, right. That's incredible.
Well, actually, you'll note that it is Brent's beard is a little blacker than normal.
No. Actually, if you notice, remember last
shaved.
Week, I had the grizzly. What's that? Burl Ives beard going.
What was it? Grizzly
Jerry
Jones.
Garcia beard. And I was like, well,
Grizzly Adams. Grizzly Adams.
Yeah, Grizzly Adams. I can't go out like that. So.
Yeah. So, look, you got to tell us about ServiceNow, man, and what you're doing there. And I mean, I saw you at the conference, of course, but I've been dying to see what kind of work you do and what kind of impact you have. And tell me.
Man, all right. Well, no pressure. I got to tell you, it's only been I don't even know. It seems like a year, 4 or 5 months. And in that time, we have done some really amazing things. In fact, I was just in Silicon Valley yesterday at the Santa Clara headquarters, presenting on all of the updates to what we call our marquee leadership team, and I was really proud. To be there representing our team, sharing all of the great updates in the last few months. So what that means is that one of my charters is to help reimagine the vision and strategy for what we call our executive briefing centers. And our executive briefing centers are essentially, we have one in Santa Clara, London, New York, Singapore, Sydney, all over the world. And this is where we bring our customers in to reimagine their businesses on the platform. So we open their minds, we help them think about all of these incredible trends that are reshaping the market, reshaping their business, and share with them new visions, new examples of the things that they need to do and the things they didn't know they needed to do. And so the programming, these immersive demos, the spaces themselves we're reimagining into these innovation centers. It's so exciting. And that's one part. And the other part is taking that sort of experience on the road directly to customers. And you're just sitting with C-suites, sitting with leaders and helping them translate these trends, not just like, for example, Gen AI. Everybody's talking about Gen AI, but how is Gen AI changing how someone interfaces with information? How is Gen AI changing how someone processes information and takes action on it? How does that, what if it was a UI? How does that change engagement? So like taking it from different slivers to help them think about the things that they're just not always thinking about and being a partner in their transformation.
So when you say, I always wonder how you do this. When you say help them imagine things they didn't even know they needed to, how do you actually do that? I mean, given that you're dealing with people who really aren't thinking about that at all. So how do you do that?
I actually never had the answer to this. It was just something that happened in our work throughout my career. But I'm writing a new book, and I won't give away the name, but it's basically on this very premise. This is why I had to think about it. Everybody comes to any given moment, whether they want to learn about Gen AI, they want to learn about spatial computing, they want to learn about digital transformation. Everybody comes to that moment sort of based on the cognitive biases that they have as an executive, the experiences that they have, the successes that they have, the failures that they've had, and then also the pressures that they have, right? What are they measured by? Whether that's quarterly income, whether that's quotas, whatever it is, there's something. And so what I try to do ahead of the time is understand what those drivers are. And then when we get together, Kenny, I love Kenny. When we get to that moment of engagement and I understand what their desired outcomes are, I also understand what they're bringing to the table so that I can work around that, so that I'm disarming them and informing them and empowering them at the same time. At least that's what I try to do. Can't say that I've mastered it.
Hard.
Yeah. So what were those things that you needed to tell them?
Yeah, so it's different for every person. I like, for example, when a customer comes to see us, we'll spend anywhere between 8 to 10 weeks ahead of that time with a set of defined questions, a set of defined processes that we've developed over the last several months to get to those insights. And a lot of times what we end up uncovering is there's the things they want to talk about, but we'll also uncover the things they didn't know they need to ask about, and we build it on. And I think, like, look, you do this, Paul, Brent, you do this as well. In any given relationship, the whole point is to add value. This is the work that you do as well as analysts. And when I was an analyst, we tried to do as well, which was, this is the trajectory of the market, but is that the right trajectory? Right? These other factors, these other trends are happening. So how do we consider gaining competitive advantage? Being more relevant to the market, maybe finding opportunities for innovation, or to co-pilot into innovation.
Okay,
Our sponsor thank you for that, by the way. I just
well, we're partners with Microsoft, so I just wanted to get that plug in there.
You guys do actually. ServiceNow does a really good job. It's gotten they weren't in the beginning years ago when I first met them. They weren't great on partnerships. They were okay, but nothing special. They've gotten really, really, really honed in and intelligent on the partnerships they're putting together, because they're not just ordinary, tech integration kind of partnerships. These are very strategic, really well located, focused around the ecosystems, which then, on the other hand, gives you an enormous. That's Brent. Yeah, I was talking to him about that before, and I thought he was helping the city of Stockbridge pick up the garbage on town, right? So,
It's a rough job.
Right.
It's hot out
right.
Brett, I have the same vest when I'm riding my motorcycle at night.
Oh, that's right. That's a illuminated neon.
You don't want to get hit. Hey,
But-
as you talk about those parties, one of the more fascinating ones that the company that seems to be on everybody's partnership list this year is NVIDIA. I don't know, if you could talk a little bit about that, or, they're like the it company for partnerships because of they found an interesting way, as Ron Miller yesterday said, they took what they did for gaming and now it's meant for generative AI, and everybody seems to be trying to figure out how they can work with them, and you guys are.
We are. In fact, I can't say too much, but what I can say is that come this fall, we're going to be hosting a private conversation between NVIDIA and one of our customers around what the future of generative AI can look like on private data, so that you're not feeding important information to OpenAI, and so that you can process that within your own respective premise.
So, I mean, look, there's obviously been a ridiculous amount of hype around generative AI and everything ranging from, sentient to it's getting dumber by the minute, to it does everything for you one way or the other. And people who literally think it's wonderful that Gen AI and ChatGPT generated something that they really should have spent the time and written themselves. How do you view it? You, Brian Solis, not you, Brian Solis, ServiceNow. How do you look at all this? What do you see as is there any real power in it? What's the real value? Because you don't deal with hype, so.
I have been spending a lot of time with Connor Grennan, who is the Dean of Students at NYU Stern, and also one of the more creative minds around using Gen AI productively in work as from an augmented standpoint, not from an automated standpoint. So as Brian Solis, I see two windows. Kind of goes back to where we were going earlier. One was, here's what companies want to do. Here's what you think companies need to do. What companies want to do is automate existing processes, save time, save money, get faster, scale, increase profitability, etc. All good things that company needs to think about. The thing that they need to think about is augmentation. How do you take someone and make them 10x capable of what they're... In fact, my boss, Dave Wright, had this great example. And I loved it because it's one of my favorite movies, Aliens. You remember the exoskeleton and how they could lift all of these things? That was an example of being exponential in your work. And I see that being possible with generative AI. On the other hand, also as Brian Solis, I'm dearly, dearly moved by a piece that, what's his name? Josh Gordon-Levitt, is that what it is?
Actor.
Yeah, the actor and producer.
Joseph Gordon.
Joseph Gordon.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Because it's Hey Joe on Twitter.
Right.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Apologies, Joseph, if you see this.
He's watching right now. So
yeah, sorry, man. He wrote this great piece for the Washington Post that came out today that talked about how Gen AI needs to credit and pay anybody whose work it sources. That's where my heart is. And so I posted about that just a couple hours ago in support of WGA and SAG, that those people out on the picket lines aren't just fighting for themselves. They're actually fighting the good fight for anybody who creates content online. You could be an analyst, you could be a researcher, you can be a musician. All of those are sources and inputs for Gen AI. So if you're trained, or if it's sourced, or if it's built upon, Joseph asks for residuals for the sources. So that's I mean, that has nothing to do with the enterprise software space.
No, but that's a big deal. That's a huge deal. And also the implications are incredibly complicated. But wow. Because I mean, that's pretty much all they're doing is sourcing material and then putting it in a form. right? That's all it's actually doing. And even when they're being imitative of a style, that's because they sourced the style of the persons or who wrote whatever they wrote in order to imitate the style. So I don't even know how would you even I don't even know how to think. I mean, the idea, yes, absolutely, I'm 100% for that, 1,000. How you would actually do it, I don't even know. I don't have a clue how to do
What's
that.
interesting about that is, I think it was John Reed on Whispered Insights, only seen on PPN, by the way. Whispered Insight, where he said,
Starring Esteban Kolsky.
that's right, that's right, that he said that was one of the things. They might be the first or only kind of online publication that put a statement out there that says, anything you see written here completely free of ChatGPT. And maybe that's, well, one of his reasons was, look, we don't just want to rehash stuff that's been used all over the place and then you just use that to rehash some more. We're trying to provide unique insights, unique perspectives that aren't just thrown into the machine and then spat back out. It feels like, with the actors and the writers, they are so, that's their livelihood has always been their kind of intellectual property and their ability to take what's in here and present it in multiple formats. How do we get, how, like, the everyday person who is so used to giving their stuff out just to use a free app? It's not a free app. It's, you're giving it all your data and now your thoughts and now the ability for the machine to create stuff from all that. They're used to kind of not getting paid for this stuff. But how do you get them to kind of look at things from the perspective of, like, the Writers Guild folks? Because it feels like everybody's about to be treated the same way, and these guys are, like you said, kind of fighting for everybody, even though the regular folks may not necessarily see it like that.
Oh yeah. Look, there's I have a friend in his name is Robert Tursick. He's an author, futurist. We host a show together along with Brett King called The Futurists, and we have a guest coming on who is probably the most preeminent name in copyright law, and both have written papers on this that are coming out. In fact, I'm reading Robert's now. That's done with the Johnny Carson Foundation, and it is complicated. Mostly, and look, I don't think this is going to surprise anybody, but mostly because studio executives don't want to do this in the right way. At least this is why they're striking, because it's pretty easy to take someone's image and repurpose it as technology gets more advanced. It's pretty easy to have someone, hey, write in the style of Jerry Seinfeld this particular skit. But as one of the pictures I posted earlier in support of the strike was someone holding a picket sign that said, ChatGPT has never gone to high school. The point being, this is life experience that leads into this creativity and the source of the storytelling and the narrative and the imagery or the music. It's the soul of a human being from the experiences that they've gone through from being human. Now, you can use AI to augment, coming back to the conversation we were having earlier, you can augment, say, the mundane routines in anybody's life. Like I have this joke, I try to be creative, but I got stuck in meetings all day. There are things that you can do to parcel out those things that hold you back from being your best, most creative self. Like that's where I see this going. But to give you an example, something else I shared earlier this week, the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery gave the commencement speech at Boston College in May, and he came to with the best intent. He came to the commencement with this message of students, to be your most successful selves in life, you got to show up. To which all of the students started screaming, "Pay your writers!" I think at the end of the day, we're just trying to do the right thing for humans. But Robert Tursick said in a conversation we just had, like they're fighting the good fight, but he doesn't see a scenario in which they win outright for the long term.
So here's an interesting, based on an actual horrible story about ChatGPT, here's an interesting side matter. So there's a story that is true that some attorneys had a brief written by ChatGPT, submitted it, and Justice Jenkins, when Kenny and I interviewed him, he brought this up, submitted it and actually put it in. Obviously, we're very lazy attorneys, but because it literally invented cases with case, with case references to put it forward, and they were found to be false. I mean, completely invented. Now, on the one hand, is that we all know about the danger of the authoritative sounding ChatGPT. It had me writing books that I had never written and explained what I wrote in the books. I mean, there were like 4 books I was author of that I wasn't. That not
Congratulations.
Well, literally.
What if they have been best-selling books? Like, what if they had said it was the best-selling book?
Well, that you know what?
And then royalty started to appear.
But here's the interesting thing. So, if ChatGPT writes something for me, do I have to pay ChatGPT for writing it? Right? I mean, well, where I'm going with this is that when people are using this when companies are using this to provide a service, yeah, they are. When companies are using this to provide a service, should I really be paying for a service that they didn't really do? Right? It's really my question, because a company's already doing that, right? I mean, and people are using ChatGPT to do the work of employees, but why am I paying them? I could have theoretically used ChatGPT to do the exact same damn thing. If I had known they were, I wouldn't want to, right? I wouldn't want to use them. So I'm just thinking, it's just a thought that's coming to mind now is, why should I pay a company that provides me with a service that they were provided by ChatGPT or some other generative AI too, and a finished product is generated by something that work they didn't actually do, just something they used? Why? Why should I?
It's not a matter of someone of your caliber or intellect. It's everyone else. It's what we used to call the lazy web, or still call the lazy web, right? If you think about how easy it is to write a book now, whether, like, we'll take the adjective out, like great or amazing or insightful, just a book or a script or a song or a game. There are many people who are willing to sort of cut corners to create content. In fact, so many people that the internet itself now is collapsing, and search, for example, is struggling to surface great content because so much generative AI content is being published. Amazon is overloaded with AI written books. So it's ironically human beings who are taking advantage of this technology to try to game the system and create self-value.
Let me let me ask you. This is one of those things I struggle with. Well, I don't really struggle with this, but when you see like somebody, this new image is really a nice looking image that was created, but it was created through, Mid-Journey or whatever thing you want to call it. Do you consider that like a work of art in the same vein as if somebody, what I would consider a real artist who does this with their hands and with what's in here and transfers that with their hands and their tools into to an image? Do you consider somebody who does that now with this stuff an artist, or is it somebody who's a good technician that knows how to use these tools to create an image? You're on mute, I think.
Sorry, we had an airport announcement. You know who I consider an artist, Brent? Prince. And I like like so, and I say that, yes, I say that with all the love and passion and respect that I have. Probably the best artist across: lyricist, dancer, guitarist, pianist, bassist, composer.
Keep going. Band
Yeah,
leader.
band leader, absolutely. uh, so there's this level of artistry that is, I don't know, that's a once in a lifetime human being. And then you have these tools that create. And so who am I to say that that isn't artistry? But what I would say is that where I, as a human being, where I'm going to put my, as Brian Solis, I should say, where I'm going to put my gauge on artistry, it's going to be on the prompt. If someone is so incredibly thoughtful that the prompt becomes this work of art, the thoughtfulness, the construction. Sometimes I've gone through these exercises, sometimes the layers of prompting, sometimes the prompting of prompting against itself to sort of see where you might be missing opportunities. There's an artistry in that. And whatever that output is, which is based on other people's work and, and styles and what have you, that's where we start to lose sort of this logic. But the prompt, there's artistry in the prompt.
I like that. There's artistry in the prompt, and there are levels to artistry, right? Maybe it's me. I get a little annoyed when, well, you brought up Prince. Damn it! I mean, that's like the ultimate.
Now-
example.
That's
Yeah,
capital C creativity, capital A artistry.
Yeah. But when certain things are compared to other things that only through the means of technology should they even be even in the same realm of comparison. With that said, I like that you said the art of prompting, because actually new arts and new skills do get created that shouldn't necessarily be a true comparison to the things that came before them. So I like how you said that, and it gives me a better appreciation for some of the things I'm seeing without feeling threatened that you're not coming for Prince. You can never be that. You can be a really good whatever this is. Just don't put it there.
So
I like how you put that. I really
it raises then, and actually you kind of put it in a nutshell earlier in one of your comments, Brian. It raises the interesting thing is technology as enabling tool, and at the same time, creativity, the value of actual creativity, because to your point, it goes from, let's call it the prompt, which is the artistry, and call it the creativity, to something that isn't actually artistic or creative by pretty much by definition. So, and that Alan's comment there actually becomes really interesting to me at that point, because how do you then, who becomes the, call it the, given that, who becomes the vetting authority, right? I mean, in those kind of situations.
Well, and what are you vetting, right? So
Right.
this is the challenge, because with great prompting skills, and let's assume in an ideal world with great prompting skills, and then on the other side credit and residuals, so like all is right in the world, then what are you vetting? You know, are we vetting whether or not it was generated with AI or whether or not it's good output? Because
Right.
I'd argue that if, as long as everybody's made right and made whole in the process, then we got to think about a world then when augmented output is a reality.
Yeah.
let's
No, I think you're right.
But what about when an AI prompter gets this kind of ability to make this kind of money, where the stuff that they're actually pulling their prompts to create, those folks who actually created the stuff that the prompters are pulling are making like nothing. There seems like there's a bit of there's something that's not in sync. There's not alignment.
A new
When
form
the
of
prompter-
wage disparity.
Yeah, when
It's
the
just like-
prompter is getting that level of income, where the folks who created the stuff that the prompter is pulling are getting peanuts.
Yeah, but Shohei Ohtani is going to be paid $500 million for swinging a bat
But you know,
and
but you
pitching
know
a
what?
ball.
I
Right.
I can justify that because
I can't.
only because people are paying money to see him do that.
I'm
If-
not saying it. It's still.
if
I'm just saying that the disparities are always there.
That's true, but
Yeah.
that one is like I'm all for the prompter making the money, or the guy who with the prompting skill. But getting back to the writer strike and all there's got to be some equity here. I mean, this feels completely out of sync.
Well,
Yeah, well, let's also talk about the people who are not getting that salary, but completely gaming the system, not even saying that they're using ChatGPT and making a lot more than that.
Yeah, and and it's like the first NFT. Remember it? Right? What was it? $66 million. Boy, that was a great investment.
Wasn't that like Jack Dorsey selling his first tweet?
That thing literally couldn't buy a glass of wine at that bar behind you at this point. Right?
Not at these prices.
Well, I know you got to go, but with Jack Dorsey selling that first tweet, does he have to? Can he now resell it with an X on it and make like more money? Is that how it works?
Oh, I think if there's a lesson to be learned from all of these things that are happening, whether it's X or whether it's Gen AI, it's that this is that exact moment where you cannot create division. You can't polarize any society where society is more important as a whole or stronger as a whole when technology right now stands itself to divide it at multiple levels. So I hope we can continue this conversation in some way, shape, or form.
Oh, just plan on coming back on. That's all.
Yeah, to let us know the next time you're at the airport.
Are you talking about my podcast booth? I have to pay rent for this.
You did pretty good setting that thing up, I have to say.
It really looks good.
Video's good.
Nice
no glitches.
All right, we know you got to go, but thanks again for doing this.
Yeah,
we definitely want to talk more, because this stuff is so interesting and fascinating, and you have a fascinating take on all this. So thanks again, man.
Oh,
love you.
It's so good. Love you guys. I'll see you later.
Okay.
Bye. Amazing as always. Just
so fun, and it was thought provoking, and I have to tell you, it changed my mind a little bit. Because I've been pretty hard on these people that here call themselves artists because they're good at using Midjourney. I don't look at them like that, but there is a skill, and they're doing something that takes a certain level of skill to pull off, even if it's not an artist in the traditional sense. There's a skill that they're bringing to the table that's important.
Well, to that point, it's and I think I saw something there, but I was never like you. I'm not sold on it, but there is a certain point which is kind of interesting. Is artists, let's say painters or somebody like that, have always relied on technology. There's no a paintbrush is technology. There's a thing called I think Dennis told me about, Dennis Pombrian, called a camera obscura, and what it is it basically takes let's say a person and puts their image right on the table, and an artist will trace it. And it was a popular instrument for including relatively famous artists in the, I think, 17th century, 18th century. And there's actually one out there now called like Neo or something, where people are still selling that. It's like tracing, in a lot of ways. But it was considered legitimate art that came from the use of it. And those are some of the things that probably sell now for millions of dollars as far as just, art, historic value. So there's always, one way or the other, paint is a technology, as far as it goes. A pen is a technology, a computer is a technology to write. But the difference is the human brain versus the artificial intelligence, which was generated by a human brain at some point, and how that interacts. And that's really the battle is how do you both distinguish the two and accept the two, right? And that it's a hard thing to just say, I got it.
Yeah, but I'm leaving this comment up from Alan because it's really an interesting one. What do you call people who sample music to create something new? Uh, they are artists, but I always give preference, and I think there's levels to the art, the artistry and the artist. James Brown sits here because he created the foundation of which a lot of the sampling came from. Because if it wasn't for him, there wouldn't be these guys. But they have taken what he did. It's like a remix or whatever, and there's skills to that. But I would never put them in the same stratosphere of a James Brown because they use a sample of his and you're right. It's an intricate kind of complex kind of discussion. But I will say this, and I want to go back to Alan Rosenblatt. AI prompter is paid $374,000. I'm glad that they can get whatever they get. But in 100 years, we won't be talking about them. We'll still be talking about the real artists. Like Leonardo da Vinci, we're 500 plus years into Leonardo. They'll be talking about him for 500 more years. But all the digital artists that are using these digital tools, they'll make their money, hopefully, but they won't make an impression like that guy.
History. Right.
And that's what the distinction is.
And here's one simple example. If you watch, say, The Voice or American Idol or whatever, the thing that all the auditions rely on typically are covers, right? They're covers. Now, They may do a fantastic cover. They may have a beautiful voice,
right?
But they're not seen as artists. They're seen as singers, right? And Whitney Houston cover is Whitney Houston was the artist here. It was an original song. It was done by her or her entourage, potentially. I don't know how she wrote, but ultimately the thing, and let's say one of them succeeds, one of these contestants, they like one of the original American Idol winner was, what's her name?
Kelly Clarkson,
right? She succeeds because look, if you watch the early American Idols, it was covers, but she succeeded because she started writing original music and singing original music. And that's what made her the artist. The fact that she had original, and original is the key, to me, is the key differentiator. A cover can be fabulous and love it. There are covers, I want to hear the cover. And I want it to be faithful to the cover. We all remember, on the one hand, Whitney Houston's national anthem, and then let's say multiple others who try to change it, and it's horrible in every instance. But what was her name? Christina Aguilera, disaster national anthem, right? But that's what I'm saying. Covers are covers, and there's some beauty to them, and it's great to hear them, and you're happy about it, and you think that was terrific. But that doesn't make them artists. That makes them singers.
I like how artists are folks who create,
right?
Technicians or whatever. They have the technical skills to duplicate, but they're not creating. They are taking somebody else's creation and basically, performing it. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's cool. But you don't ever put those folks in the same category as the actual the artists. And I think that's where we're going to have to figure this out with all this because what Gen AI is doing is creating a huge pool of folks who are not the artists, but giving them the ability to replicate the artists. And I think if I were an artist, I want to make sure that I am not viewed as somebody who's able to take a bunch of, modern tech and replicate something that I did on my own, that came from my own head, that came from my own heart, that I wrote and I arranged and I produced. That's just me.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, look at Kenny and Alan's there. So here's the story. The answer is so first Kenny. No, the symphony conductor can be an artist. It's not the music that makes him the artist. It's the way he gets, to your point, putting the performers, the way he creates the holistic result with the performers. That's the artistry. And yeah, it's like a prompt engineer, it is the artistry. It's actually a little more than a prompt engineer, because you're dealing with humans with varying degrees of knowledge of instruments. But and to Alan's point about the Beatles being artists until they started, no, they were artists, but they weren't recognized as artists till they started doing their own music, because that's what made them the artist. Now, to the other point of Aretha, in Aretha's case, because she didn't write her own, it was her performance that made her the artist. It was the way she did it. She wasn't just doing someone else's song. She was doing a song written for her, and it was the way she performed it. Like, I was watching her do that song on the Blues Brothers the other day. That one where she, I can't remember the name of it now, but it was one where she was telling her guy not to leave, and who do you think you are? And it was amazing. Well, Sinead O'Connor is just in memoriam at the moment.
Right. But let me pick, because of course I know Alan picked this particular instance because her most famous song was written by Prince. Nothing Compares You. That was a Prince song written for one of his groups in the mid 80s. That didn't go anywhere. Right. But when she got it, and they did their own rearrangement of it, it became what it did. You know what? She was an artist before she got hold of that song, but that song propelled her artistry into the stratosphere, because she didn't just mouth it word for word and play it the way that Prince had originally done it. It was a completely different arrangement, and her voice and her emotion, she imbibed that song, and that's an artist. Whereas somebody who just sort of comes along and says, "Oh, this is popular, let me just re-sing it," almost sort of like karaoke. I don't consider that to be an artist. I consider that who was playing around, or it's just a replication.
True to the original doesn't make you an artist, right? So let's say that. Like, again, a great cover can be a great cover. I've heard some things that blow me away because they're so like the original. But I don't think of them as great artists. These are kids trying to get on a show, for God's sake, right? Right. So, but they're really good singers. They have great voices.
Right. They got great
potential. And let me phrase it this way: when you are able to handle music in your own way that's unique to you, I'll put it that way, rather than write your own songs per se. When you're able to handle music that's unique in a way that's unique to you, that will remain unique to you, then you're an artist in my eyes. It doesn't mean it's not necessarily one I love, but it doesn't mean you're not an artist.
But you know what? Let's end it on this. You know what? I can't imagine ChatGPT having this kind of argument with some other form of large language model. This is a uniquely human argument that we cannot have replicated or duplicated by ChatGPT.
And you know what? Go to Alan's last quote. Go to Alan's very last quote.
Which Alan?
Very last comment, Alan Rosenblatt. Alan, so here's the difference between ChatGPT and us. Eye of the beholder. There's the difference. And like there's an eye of the beholder when it comes to us. There is no eye of the beholder when it comes to ChatGPT.
Yeah, and I love that. Jazz is the ultimate expression of what because particularly the jazz that came around in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, like the golden era of jazz, basically. Can you imagine a machine? I mean, that was created by folks who had passion and who had desire, had the skills, and they were trying to marry. They were trying to do something.
The experiences in life too.
Yeah, and of course their experience in life were basically channeled through their output with their music, and that's why there's the fear that this stuff will take over. You got to kind of temper it a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Certain things you just can't. A machine can't completely replicate, and that kind of comes back to this. What makes an artist, in my opinion. But wow, we went a little over on that one.
Well, that's all right. That was great. That was fun.
I blame Alan Rosenblatt because
Yeah, me too. And look at Alan Rosenblatt. There is no
Yoda.
AI.
Yeah.
Well, right above it, he just mistyped it slightly.
There is no AI, only
Only
learning.
learning of the machine.
Yeah, I like
Yoda.
Yoda. I like Yofa too, but
I
I'll go
like
with
Baby
Yoda.
Yoda. That's my guy, Baby
Well,
Yoda.
Well, thanks for Alan for sticking around and not like leaving right when Brian left. I was but no, this is a fascinating. I mean, look, I'm just glad that we're able to have conversations that go deeper than what we're kind of been used to with all this stuff.
Yeah.
And there's still a lot of depth to go because we're just scratching the surface, aren't we?
Yep. And and of course, to plug PPN here, you can see that on a lot of our different shows.
Right here on Playaz
PPN Network. That's right.
We need to
PPN.
get on. I think we should see if James Earl Jones can do this is PPN for us. That would be like perfect.
That would be gold.
I thought this was Paul Swan's.
Yeah. I couldn't get that was what was so funny when you saw the sunsetting thing. So many people, if you read it, were like almost like eulogies to me. I mean, it was like, no, I'm not retired and I'm not dying. It's just, I just shut down the watch list. I mean, they were beautiful. They were really like lovely commentary. And they were genuinely sweet. But every time I'd read one, it was almost like, thanks for all your contributions to the industry. You know, it was great being part of your, you mentoring me, like that. Like I'm no longer in it. Now, look, in a few years, I might not be. I mean, I'm semi-retiring, but basically retirement means to me at this point, PPN becomes ultimately my sole focus. So I will be around a while.
Let's see. Now you've made Alan very happy. There
Alan, you still need to come over so we can drink together. So let's plan on it.
But I want to end with this. So Alan says this has been so fun. Well, guess what, Alan? We'll be back next week. Feel free to. We'll tell you Brian won't be on next week, but we'll still be here if that means anything to you after all this.
We would love to see you.
But this has
actually,
been
you know
fun.
what? Alan might be a good guest sometime too. I'll talk to you afterwards.
I don't know. Is he a Boston sports fan though?
Yeah, well, it'll only be a one shot. It'll be a one-shot show. But
well, anyway, this was a lot of fun. And we'll be back next week. And like we said earlier, we're going to have Scott Beachuk from Norwest Venture Partners. And we're going to have our buddy Anand Thakur, the Midas of MarTech, and the Golden Smog of CRM. He's got, at least 2 nicknames, maybe more at this point.
Yeah, he's awesome.
We're going to be talking about venture capital and private equity and where things are. I'm sure there's a lot of money going to the AI startups and all that.
M&A and startups, and we're talking about everything.
All right. So we will see you then. And you know how we do. We got to say goodbye to Minnie before we say goodbye to you guys. So see ya.